Everyone. Hello, and welcome to the very first Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network Hangout. We are having a few kinks and bumps as goes along with technology, but hopefully you can all hear us and see us, and if you are listening later, sorry you missed the fun. But my name is LaToya Edwards, and I'm excited to moderate today's session. We are going to be talking about some of our very, very best homeschooling tips. We've got lots of experience here on the panel from people that have been homeschooling longer than I've been alive, all the way down to me, who's relatively new. So you're going to get some great tips today. We're going to get several of our hosts that have podcasts on the network itself, as well as our founder and the lady behind the machine and the madness, Felice. So Felice, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the network?
Yes, I just, if I can get all these buttons right, we'll be in good shape. Yeah, just quickly, this network really is a gift from the Lord. It came to me one day when I was thinking about how I could really turn the expos that I was doing into something that would be free. And so this network is made up of podcasters, so I asked some of my friends, and they're on this panel right now, and instead of saying, oh gosh, Felice, you're crazy, they said, yes, we'd love to join you and host our own shows. So if you're not familiar with a podcast, it's basically us recording in our home and putting our audio on a website so that you can listen to it all different ways through an RSS feed. You can just go on the website and download the audio and listen to it later, or do what I love to do and put it on my phone and follow it and take it in the car with me. And you know, I don't always have a fan of my children unless it's a podcast they want to listen to. They may not want to listen along with me, but I love to listen to podcasts anyway. I think Andy Fletcher, who's on the line too, he's a great podcast junkie, as well as Hal and Melanie. So, you know, some people have never heard of podcasts, and we're a little bit ahead of the curve with that. But our Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network has a great array of podcasts for everyone, and there are 21 shows up there currently, and many new shows being added each week.
That was great. All right, so we're going to get started by introducing some of our hosts that are here. We'll start with the Youngs. If you guys want to say hello and tell us about yourselves and your show.
Sure. Thanks, LaToya. Well, I'm Hal Young.
And I'm Melanie.
And our program is called Making Biblical Family Life.
And we talk about all kinds of things that interest us.
Well, we chose a title that was pretty general, but the idea being that, you know, we hear the scriptural principles, we get the encouragement from conferences and from retreats and all the rest, but when we get home, we have to put feet on it, make it work. And a lot of times you get home and say, wow, this is not what they were just describing, and I don't know how to start.
So our goal is to be real. You'll hear our dogs, you'll hear our children. We want to let people know that, you know, you can do this, and we want to talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. So we address pretty much anything that comes up on our Facebook page, questions people ask. We love to do free question and answer sessions where we take any questions people throw out and we deal with it live. Yeah, we like talking without a net.
Yeah.
And personally, we have 8 children, 3 are adults.
Yes, we have 8 children, 3 adults, and down to preschoolers, kindergartners, whatnot.
Still at home, and we have the first 6 are boys, the younger 2 are girls, and it's an exciting life. It's
a noisy life.
It's a noisy life.
We're used to it. That's
especially in the van, which is where we are like probably 75% of the time.
Well, yeah.
Because we travel around speaking at homeschool conferences. So that's us.
That's us.
And then next we have Andy, and we'll let him talk about the show that he does with his wife, which is hilarious as well, by the way, if you haven't checked it out before.
I'm Fletch, and I just heard my phone go off. Sorry about that. My wife and I host Homeschooling in Real Life, and that's exactly what it is. You know, we like to say that we're taking care of topics that you may not hear covered at the local homeschooling conventions. And we like to, like we say, pull the veil back and really sometimes smash the sacred cows that homeschoolers like to hold up. So we talk a lot about grace. We talk a lot about the gospel, and we are not the Youngs, but we also have 8 kids. We have 5 boys and 3 girls, and they go from adult down to kindergarten. And yeah, so that's what we do. We have a lot of fun. We podcast. So far, we've podcasted from our car. We've podcasted from hotel rooms. Any place that people will give us a microphone, we will talk. And we may say some things that just might spin your head about homeschooling, but we like that because that starts the conversation, and then we get real fast.
Awesome. And then I am host of 2 shows on the network, Mommy Jammies Night, which is the second Tuesday of every month, which is really just a time for homeschool moms and moms in general to just get some encouragement and have some fellowship. And it's really great because you can attend in your PJs. You don't have to get up and go anywhere. And then I also have another show, Broken to Blessings, which talks mostly just about finding joy and hope, in broken circumstances of life, whether that be single parenting or special needs parenting or, whatever it may be. So Felice, you want to tell us about your shows?
I guess I need to unmute myself so you can hear me as I'm sitting here giggling behind the scenes with Hal and Melanie whispering over there and Fletcher's phone going off. And for those of you who don't know, Andy Fletcher is really Dr. Fletcher. He's a dentist, so he's there in his scrubs. And so whatever you think about dentists, we love them. So anyway. Getting back to the point here, I didn't think we were going to be totally serious, I hope. Okay, so I host Vintage Homeschool Moms, which is a weekly broadcast, and that show is all about being a mom. I talk about different academic subjects. I give you my opinion, which I love to give you my opinion. And it's really fun because I bring on a guest, and I said, like one time a month, I'm going to do a hangout with, it's not actually a hangout, it's Meredith Curtis and I do lunch with Meredith and Felice, and we go through some topics. And then once a month, I will interview a guest, and then the rest is whatever the Lord puts on my heart. And then I moderate current issues in the Constitution, which I love, with my brother-in-law, who is he was a teacher, a retired teacher, and he's a college professor, and he is a walking encyclopedia of the Constitution. So he and I just recorded a session. Absolutely were elated. I don't know if any of you follow politics, maybe just a little bit, but there are many of us waking up very happy this morning, and so we discussed that and where in the Constitution it talks about elections. So we do that twice a month. And then I do a recurring show, Ultimate Homeschool Radio Show, where I interview guests. Everyone on this panel has a interview done with them on that. Different people that I have found that may have a product or service of interest to homeschoolers. And I'm telling you, it is very difficult to find products and services that I am willing to interview the people for. So if you see them on that show, you know that they have been vetted. I've looked at their websites. They've sent me product, and so it's really fun to bring new faces to the homeschool world. And these are people that maybe you haven't heard of before. So that, in a nutshell, are the 3 shows, because I'm not doing as much work now, right? So I'm doing those, and it's really a lot of fun. My husband always laughed, and when I hear, Hal and Melanie travel about and speak, and I know Kendra speaks at shows as well, and I've taken a break from doing a lot of homeschool shows because I feel like I'm in people's living room or in their cars, so much with the network. But my husband always laughed when I got paid to speak, and he said, "People actually pay you to speak?" So, because I never stop. All right, so I'm going to hand it back to LaToya, who is the moderator, or none of us would get a voice in here. So I'm excited to share some tips with you. So I'll hand it back to LaToya.
All right, so those are all of the shows, and if you are live with us on the event page, there are actually some links to a few of our favorite episodes for you to check out and to get familiar with the shows if you're not always. So we're going to get started with our best tips for homeschooling, and we're going to hand it on over to Fletch first for his #1 tip for homeschoolers.
Okay, you ready for this? I'm recommending #1. Well, first, we in our events page we have a list of a show called 5 Ways to Rock Your Homeschool, and it was a real practical episode where we gave 5 tips for really helping homeschooling. So my recommendations come right out of that. The first one is to have a plan. If you're going to start homeschooling, or if you've been people like us who've been homeschooling for close to 17 years, we start every year with a plan. And for the rest of my guests here with me today, one of the things that we do something called coffee, chocolate, and copying. I think those are the 3 C's. And towards the end of the year, maybe in summertime, Kendra will first get away for a weekend and plan the curriculum in the school year. But then right before the school year, we'll sit down and we'll do all the copying that she needs done, at least for the first semester. We supply a ton of chocolate. Apparently that's important. Is that something that everybody likes? I guess so. And then, coffee, that's kind of my mainstay. We get a ton done. Now what I do is I make little notes in the kids' notebooks. So things like, tell mom she's gorgeous, daddy loves you, keep studying hard, it's only a few weeks left until Christmas, things like that. So have a plan. That's my suggestion.
Good. All right, and we'll get over to the Youngs for their #1 tip.
Yeah.
#1.
#1 is when your kids get grown up and they get to the end, what will really matter about your homeschooling is the discipleship.
Yeah, that's real. Because nobody's ever going to ask, did you finish all of your math worksheets in the 5th grade?
Or how'd you do in spelling in the 7th grade? Nobody cares.
No, they're not.
But what kind of character your kids have, that really impacts their lives. And something I really wish I had known years ago is those horrible days when everybody loses it and they're all about to kill each other, and you spend all day long doing nothing but disciplining and counseling.
And Dad comes home from work and Mom meets him at the door and says, I had an awful day. We didn't get anything accomplished. But you know what? All day long you were building character.
And those are the days that really matter to your kids' lives.
Yeah.
Those are not wasted days. Those are the most important days. And I really wish I'd gotten that like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's really not about homeschooling. It's about home discipleship.
Yeah, building people,
Right.
And yeah, we want to give them a great education. Our kids have gone to college on scholarships, but what's really important is what kind of people they are.
Right.
That's our #1 tip. It's about discipleship.
So I think my probably #1 tip goes along with that. My #1 tip is don't be afraid to stay home. I've got, my boys are 8 and under, and I'm a relatively new homeschooler, and there's a lot of pressure sometimes to kind of be everywhere and do all the things and go to all the events, and you'll lose your mind if you try to do that. So don't be afraid to stay home. Like, the co-ops and things are nice, but you don't have to do them to have a successful homeschool. Stay home, relax, work on, discipleship, work on character, work on those things that are really important. And then once you've got those under control, then, step out there as you have time and as you see fit. So that would be my tip. Felice, you have anything to add?
Just a few things. Yeah, like, who came up with only 3 that we could share today when we have like 15, right? I think what really hit me in the later part of my homeschooling, and I didn't share my interesting family. So I have the 2 children that are older. Jeff and I, we always say we had 2 families, and I got to do things. You know how you say, well, I wish I could do it all over again? Well, I got to do it all over again with the younger 3. So the older 2 say I'm not as strict as I was with them, and the younger 3 say we're happy Mom got off of some of her health food kick because there was not any junk food in the family with the older 2, so I had to lighten up a little bit. But anyway, so Jeff and I have 5 children, and the oldest is 33, and the youngest is 14 now, and I have 6 grandchildren, and And so it gets very busy and hectic here. And I realized that for us, my number one was homeschooling is a lifestyle. It's not just, what you do. It's really more of who you are and who you are as a family. And so we have tried to make memories. So we do little trips. A lot of times gifts come in the form of an activity that we're all doing together, because who needs more junk in the house? Especially, I've parented more, LaToya than you are probably, so just things like that. And Jeff and I have found, we're celebrated 35 years this year, that we are closer than ever, and it really makes a huge impact on our family when we're concentrating on being together and making memories, and that is important. Yes, curriculum is important. I'm going to talk about that next, but and my advice is not going to be probably anything you've heard. But it's really important to look at homeschooling as a lifestyle and how you can make memories with your family.
I think that's a good one. It's another good reason to stay home. I'm going to remember that. Somebody asked me why we don't go out often.
Yes.
All right, so let's get to our second tip. Hal and Melanie, you guys want to start us off with the second round?
Sure. Well, I think one of our second tips is the importance of, remember how important it is to give your kids a love of learning and preserve it.
And that's really important when you have sons, because guys tend to they don't develop as quickly the skills that we love for school, sitting still and small motor skills and stuff. And it's really easy for a guy to decide, I'm no good at this stuff, when he's going to really thrive academically when he gets in high school. And so I tell moms of boys particularly, one of the most important things you can do in elementary school and middle school is teach your boy to love learning and keep him from feeling like he's a failure academically, because then when he hits his stride, he's going to thrive. Yeah. But you got to preserve that love of learning, and that means you might not be doing school sitting at desk, but instead standing up at the kitchen counter.
You might be doing more active learning or
using a whiteboard.
Things that are more focused on his particular interest, but
doing some reading aloud, building memories, doing hands-on stuff. Because if you lose the love of learning, it's going to be way harder to homeschool those kids, and your results aren't going to be as good. But if they love learning, they'll take care of it themselves. Especially when they get to high school, they'll educate themselves.
Yeah.
So that's tip number 2, preserve the love of learning.
That's a good one. All right, Fletch, what do you have? Oh, and before he starts talking, I wanted to say Kendra's hanging out with us in the chat. So if you're in the event page, say hi to Fletch's wife. She's over there hanging out.
Oh, right. Hi, Fletch's wife. I'm glad you're hanging out. I didn't know you were on. Can I talk about some things we haven't talked about yet this day together? We can just have a quick little husband-wife chat.
Hey, Ken.
We are our second recommendation is to have real expectations, and this kind of comes from kind of looking at homeschooling first from the outside and then getting involved with it, and just wondering, kind of like Hal and Melanie said, why were our boys not getting it? There were some basic things, some basic behavior, and I can remember they had shared an experience about, Dad and Kendra's the one in the playpen, and all the kids are running around on the outside. That's how I know what kind of homeschooling day it's been. But when the boys just don't seem to maybe be grasping it, like these other families we saw, we had to realize that our expectations might have been too high, because these families had daughters. And as we're watching, we're seeing, these very well-behaved girls opening up lap books and doing studies. And then we saw our kids making weaponry out of Legos, and kids crying because there was a fight going on or something like that. We were expecting college classroom kids to be sitting down learning, and really we needed to lower those and say, hey, we're going to learn math on the trampoline today. That's what our goal is going to be. Or for today, we're just going to get through some Bible time. And that's it. That's school for the day. So our recommendation would be have real expectations and don't have these super huge burdens that you just can't accomplish and then you feel guilty about as a homeschooler.
Well, that's good. I think my probably next tip, and I'm going to sound like the lazy homeschooler, but that's all right, is to not be afraid to take off time when you need to, a week, a day, a month, the whole year. You know, sometimes that's needed for your sanity. I can remember it was 2 years ago. My boys and I had spent 3 months homeless, finally found a place, moved in. They each took turns getting sick, and then I got sick. And finally I was like, I think we're just going to not do school this year because we've had enough going on so far. And honestly, it was the best thing that I could have done because as stressed as we weren't going to get a lot of learning done anyway. And so we spent a lot of time snuggled up on the couch reading books and taking field trips and just kind of adjusting to new life. And it was great because at the end of the year when it was evaluation time, I was kind of worried, but my boys were still exactly where they needed to be because of the time that we had spent together. So you have my permission to take breaks when you need to for as long as you need to. You know, it won't be the end of the world, I promise. So anything to add to that, Felice?
Yeah, I was going to discuss curriculum because we are talking about homeschooling, and I knew this group, and most of us are more interested, much more interested in developing character and leadership skills, and the future leaders and world shakers of the future. But people are concerned about curriculum, and rightly so. I write curriculum, and so that is important. And I have a few little opinions about science and how that should be taught, which I'll save for another time. But when I talk about curriculum, I want to share this really quick story. One year, I was very busy. I was speaking at a homeschool conference, and I had 4 sessions. And so, they were hectic. You get there, you unload, and you can do a quick run around the curriculum hall before it opens to the public. How many have you done this 1 or 2 times before? Grabbing a math text and a science text and doing whatever you need to do, right, before you need to be on for people to walk in. And so one of my friends was a curriculum junkie, and I said, here, I'm going to give you some money and just buy whatever you think I'm going to love, or like a book that because I was feeling horrible. I wasn't going to get to see, the talks. And so what did she buy me? A book on farming and planting. And, my house is full of so I have trees in my front yard because my mother and father are green thumbs, and anything they plant flourishes. I am a city girl living in the country, born in New York, although I've lost my accent, and here she's buying me this, Amish farming book, and we're gonna, grow all this stuff, and the darn book was like $35. So at that point, I made a very firm and very wise decision, I think, that would save me money in the future. And I still have that book. It reminds me, it's on my shelf. If anybody wants to borrow a really good book on farming. No. But it is to ignore your friends, to ignore the trends, to look at what's tried and true, and look at yourself and what you're going to be able to do as a family. I had my oldest son, Neil. I always call him my experimental child. I don't know if any of you have one of those. And he didn't do 1 math book. He did 2, because halfway through the year I decided I didn't like that math book, so I needed to order another one. And guess what? Where we started? At the beginning again. Poor thing. I had to, try to get through 2 math books. Like, really? Like, what was I thinking? Oh, and I do have a degree in elementary ed, learning disabilities, and early childhood education. So you would think with all these credentials, where's my little air bunnies, that I would know better. So just throw out the trends, look at your family, see what's going to work for you. If you're not a unit study person, don't go hog wild and do unit studies because your neighbor does them and the kids are, flying kites when your kids are trying to do, math. So if you are a hands-on person, do that and use what's for you. That's my advice.
All right, that's good. So I had them on the event page, and we'll get to them towards the end. And I did want to point out that you should really subscribe to our newsletter. Every week, we have weekly updates about all the new shows and special announcements. There's a free audio download or a free printables, but all that is just for subscribers. So if you want to get in on that, there's a link in the event page, or you can go to ultimateradionetwork.com/sign-up to get on our list and get those goodies. So we are going to share our last few tips. So I'm going to let Felice get started this time with our final tips this afternoon.
Yeah, I need to come back to I was back at the chat talking to everybody else, asking them if they wanted a book on farming. Oh, at least I think I'm funny. Okay, moving on here. Most of the learning that you will do with your children, and remember I do have a degree in education, so that little paper on the wall does count for something, but most of the learning that your family is going to do is not going to happen in a classroom. I'm sorry to say. It's going to happen away from a desk, and I think that's one of the reasons that we plan trips so much, because we can just enhance upon that one little thing. We learn so much, even if it's at, I'm trying to ignore the little chat here. Even if it is just one thing, and that doesn't mean when you're in the car, don't do what I used to do and say, okay, kids, they're little and I'm worried that they're not going to get adverbs and adjectives and subjects. We're driving and I'm saying, okay, look out the window. Everybody, tell me what an adjective is. Okay, set, go. All right, let's count all the blue cars. Let's count all the red cars. Okay, let's see. Can you count to 100? How many trucks can you find before you get to the interstate? And I'm like going, so then I could go home and say to my husband, okay, we did math and we did grammar skills and languages and like, again, it's one of those, seriously, I wish we had Google Hangouts when I was a new homeschooler, so that I could just say, relax. Your real learning is going to take place outside of the classroom. Capitalize on those moments. LaToya touched on that. If you need to take a break, take a break. And you will be surprised at all the things that your kids will do. My grandkids come with books. Like, they bring their little workbooks, and I'm thinking, why are you bringing this? And they, well, because we wanted to do another page, because, their mother probably said, don't do another page. So if you want, use the reverse psychology. It always works. Don't do the work, and then they'll want to do it. And my granddaughters, I always wanted to get my kids writing books, and one child did take me up on it out of 5. I have one more maybe in the queue, but the 2 grandchildren already want to write books, and they've asked me if I would. So they're already pitching me. I'm getting these 5 and 6 page staple things that are about the family. So and my one granddaughter has a 40-page book, I think she started, so I can't wait to get the edits on that. So but it's just fun, and just spend some time, love your kids, and listen to these wise people on this panel, because they have our combined wisdom is many, many years of homeschooling. So
that was good. Thanks, Felice. All right, Fletch, what's your last words of encouragement for the homeschoolers out there?
I have a couple. The first, I want to say a couple things first. Felice, you are clearly from New York. I don't know if anybody else recognizes you. You think you've lost your accent. It's crystal clear. I don't know if my wife's in the chat room. She should answer whether we really need a book on farming. I don't know. If we need that.
all right.
So our third one. Okay, here's a good one. And this one, it can be a little, not controversial, but I understand not everybody is going to grasp what I'm saying here, but that's the idea of getting help. And I would say, if there's any homeschool dads watching this, because typically it's a mom that's homeschooling and a dad that's working there, but if that's the situation, as you're gathering together your resources to plan out your budget, it might be a good idea to plan for help, and really don't assume what that's going to be, but ask your wife, as the primary homeschooler, what does help look like? Does she need your help to give her a break? Does she need financial help to get some housekeeping done? Or I know a couple years ago we hired a young woman to come in and do food prep. So all she did was kind of prep food, and then Kendra could kind of put food put food together for dinner at night. That was a great one. But just what does that look like to get help? And the second part of that, really, as we talk about homeschooling in real life, is just drop the pride. Drop the I can do it all mentality. If you really can't do it all, I mean, some people can. We've known a woman who's homeschooled for years, and she can just do a lot. She can run a business and do a homeschool. But there are a lot of homeschooling moms where just getting up and kind of getting the school started is enough for their plate for the day. And we need to stop putting that burden on one another and just allow one another to put up the white flag and say, I need help. So recommendation number 3, get help if you need it.
It's good. And your wife says step away from the farming book.
This is so hard to watch a screen and then watch a chat.
I know.
She's probably getting away with murder. She's probably saying things like, hey, look, things sticking out of his head or something like that. But
oh, no, she's being nice, I promise. So, Hal and Melanie, you want to leave us with your final tips?
Yes. You know what? I think our third one would be just recognize that homeschooling is flexible. You have set yourself free from other people's schedules and other people's structures, and you need to embrace that. Make the most of it.
Because sometimes you're going to get behind. Sometimes you're going to need to take a day, a week, a month, a year off. Yeah, been there. We've dealt with stage 4 cancer and babies in ICU and all kinds of things. Sometimes you're going to get behind. It's all right. Homeschooling is flexible. You can catch up. Sometimes you're going to have awesome opportunities. Like we were given an unexpected opportunity to take the whole family to China for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that totally restructured the next semester because we said, wow, we're going to do a crash course and everybody's going to learn Mandarin.
So we chucked our language learning, chucked our history, replanned everything. That's cool. And I think people like me who, I'm like a type A+ personality, I want everything to fit my plan. But if we stick to the plan when clearly we need to change it, we lose some of the. You need to recognize homeschooling is flexible. It's okay. If you have great opportunities, chuck everything. Take the great opportunities. Use that flexibility to bless your family.
Yep.
So that would be our third tip for the day.
All right. Well, I think that's great. And that kind of goes along with my last little piece of advice, and it's just to give yourself some grace. Grace for your family, grace for your children, grace for everyone around you, because like everyone has said, life happens. That is the great part about homeschooling, is that you are doing life together with your family and with your children, and grace is so important. As a single homeschooling mom, that was a hard lesson for me to learn. There's lots of things going on. Oh, this homeschool blogger is doing this, and oh, look at this Pinterest activity, and you're not going to be able to get it all done. So just remember to just give yourself some grace. Have a plan, absolutely. Write it in pencil, or an editable PDF if you're one of those online, documents people. But just, enjoy the journey. Have fun with your kids and have fun with your family. You will catch up. Your child will learn their math facts before they go to college, I promise. They will read at some point. So just don't stress out. And then kind of along with that, I'm going to say seek encouragement. Our network has a ton of shows that, offer some great encouragement for all kinds of stages in life and all kinds of topics. But reach out in the homeschool community. Let's come alongside each other and help each other out instead of, kind of us all being lone islands, because that is not a good thing. And so I don't see any questions over in the event page, so we are going to wrap up. So I'm going to give all of our hosts a chance to remind you who they are and where you can find them. So Fletch, you go first.
All right, so I'm Fletch once again, and my wife, lovely Kendra, is the other half of HomeschoolingIRL, which stands for Homeschooling in Real Life. You can find us at HomeschoolingIRL.com. You can find our show button on the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network page. We broadcast every 2 weeks on Mondays, and we would love to have you come over and take a listen. If you are heading there for the first time and you've never heard of homeschooling in real life, I would recommend you start with the episode Homeschooling is a Buzzkill. It's where we talk about what you do when you just are fed up and want to throw in the towel, because we're here to encourage you to hang on to the towel, keep going, have a conversation with us, and we'd love to encourage you every 2 weeks.
All right. How, Melanie?
Hang on. Now we're live.
Now we're live. Okay. You can find us at the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network page, and our button is right there with our two smiling faces, very close together like this. And you can also go out to our speakers page, halandmelanie.com/radio, and that links straight back to the Ultimate Network.
And we are live nearly every Monday night at 9 p.m. Live, unfiltered. You hear what happens here. If we flub it, you get to hear it. And so join us there. Couple of shows you might want to check out of ours. If you're having one of those years, as we have had so many times, we've got one that we linked on the event page that is called How Do You Start Back to School When You Feel Like a Homeschool Failure? And it's real practical. It gives you step by step, what do you do when everything has come apart? Where do you start now? And also another one that I think is linked from the event page is homeschooling boys. What do you do? How do you motivate them? How do you keep math from lasting 3 hours? And so check it out. Join us there. Please come. Ask questions. We love to do things live, especially join us for our free-for-alls where we take all the questions people give us. They're a lot of fun. So we'll see you there Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern.
All right, Felice, you want to tell us where we can find you on the network?
Yes. Okay. So several places. First, and this is what I recommend to everyone. Just go to Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network, and there you'll see the different buttons. And one of the things we did for our 1-year birthday, which this is the end of that whole celebration, that our network is a year old. I don't even know if we mentioned that at all. And I asked each of the show hosts to send me their top podcasts. So we have that. If you sign up for our e-zine, you get that whole list of 21 podcasts. I'm in the process of getting it as a one-time download link, so you don't have to download each one. So if you're not sure about some of the shows and want to check that out, you can. So where to find me? VintageHomeschoolMoms.com is weekly, and the shows that I would recommend, look at you guys that have it off the tip of your tongues here, so I'm going to have to look at that. Okay, so I have a show on homeschooling lifestyle, which I think you would enjoy, and then one that I'm getting a lot of comments for is the best marriage tips ever. So that is, a good one, and then also time boosters, because, I'm not, all these kids so that they can help me. When your kids say to you, do you think I'm your personal slave? And I said, yes. Why else would I have all you children? I'm just kidding. Don't send me any hate mail for that one. But, I do have, we gather the troops, and everybody gets together and helps out around here. And I explain, like, cleaning with kids. Yes, you can do that, and they can be of help. And then when they get really useful, they leave and get married. That's for another show. Okay, then current issues and the Constitution.com, that is another one I do with my brother-in-law, and it's all spelled out, and that is twice a month. We were doing weekly, and it was too much for Woody. I keep forgetting that he's 70 at this point, something, which he's got the sharpest mind in the world and runs circles around me, and today we had a question, and the person said Article 17, and he's like, no, don't you mean Article 14? Oh yes, I knew that. Like, no, I didn't. And then so that's the other show, current issues, and then the third one is ultimatehomeschoolradioshow.com. And as always, when we send out that weekly e-zine, look at that list, and it gives you all the shows that are upcoming. And if you want to reply and you send reply back to that email, you get me. So you don't get a VA or an assistant. I haven't learned how to let go of that part of my life, which would probably be really nice if I could. It would save me a lot of time. But I respond to all my own emails. So There are no gatekeepers, and so if you want to ask me something specific about the network, or any of us would love to have comments and what you would like to hear us talk about, because we all have a lot of topics that we can talk about. So, but thank you, LaToya, for moderating this for us. It has been great, and I want to thank Hal and Melanie and Fletch in the middle of your day, who sent us a message here saying he has 2 kids on the other side of the wall getting ready for tooth cleaning. So everybody is here, and I don't think I have a New York accent. I don't know if I take exception to that.
Hey,
I know Hal and
Felice,
Melanie have a Southern accent. Yes, Fletch. What?
I wanted to ask you one question though.
Oh no, what?
Yeah, you said something? It's been 1 year.
Yes.
Well, shouldn't we be celebrating our birthday with birthday hats?
Cute.
I warned you I was going to do this. So.
When we were practicing here, and Andy's a button pusher, and all of a sudden he's got his pirate hat on. Oh, awesome! Yay! Helen, Melanie, unmute.
I tell you what, the youngs know it's 1 year because we've got 52 shows up there.
No, we don't. We have 54.
54.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we've got the highest number of shows per show, episodes per show up there.
Yeah, I do. I think I'm right with you. I don't remember. I think it is 52 or something along those lines, because we do weekly. And Hal and Melanie and I there were Mondays, and now Fletch is Monday. So he had to move over. He was Friday, and I don't know. He had to move into our space on Monday. You know what I think? He wanted to get above my show in the newsletter.
Oh.
Because in the newsletter it goes according to time. Oh, now we're getting real here. Sorry, everybody. We're a bunch of hams, so that's why we have LaToya hosting this. Otherwise, we'd be off on 12 different tangents. So, but anyway, well, thanks everybody for joining, and I look forward to hearing more shows from all of you.
All right.
I know.
We'll wrap it up. It's good to see everybody. Please check us out on ultimatehomeschoolradionetwork.com. We're on Facebook. Subscribe to our list, listen to all the shows, and let us know what you'd like to hear more of. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.